I was talking of modern characterization of human nature, and I was talking about how human nature, a gloomy scene has been presented, a gloomy nature has been presented, a negative characterization of human nature, and how this led the process of the emergence of a state. So in this it is implied violence was glorified. Violence came to the rescue of human beings to provide security, and a state was authorized to use violence to settle scores. So this is negative characterization of human nature that has been criticized by Ashish Nandy. Ashish Nandy says this is the problem with Western civilization or modern civilization. This is not civilization, modern ideas. Modern ideas, modern conceptualization. The dirtier attracts, the dirtier aspect, the darker aspect of human nature becomes the basis of conceptualization, becomes the basis of modern philosophy. Gandhi was not comfortable with this. Gandhi says, unlike this negative characterization of human nature, he believed in morality of human beings. Each and every human being is moral. They have moral capacity. They are capable of managing their own affairs. They have a profound sense of right and wrong, unlike modern characterization of human nature and a state. Similarly, Gandhi he was a supporter of equality. Unequal society where inequality prevails, that will give rise to violence. That will create uneasiness among human beings. So Gandhi says that the equality is very important. Social justice is very important. He has used the metaphor of oceanic circle. From the same circle, from the same center, there are so many circles. So that shows how important equality was for Gandhi. If there is equality, the possibility of violence is minimized. The possibility of morality, the moral living becomes brighter. So this is oceanic circle. You can find in characterization of Gandhi, his concept of Swaraj, his concept of village republic, resolution of duality between moral and the political. So this is just contrary to the modern characterization of human nature, modern notion of a state. They have been articulated, they have been characterized in a way where the possibility of morality is very bleak, is not bright at all. The next slide I am just going to explain it. Gandhi's synchronization. Gandhi, as I said, he never believed in duality, creating binary. Rather, he emphasized the need of unity of opposites, cooperation and mutuality existing in between contrarian views. He is of the opinion that even in opposing viewpoints, there is a place, there is a space where possibility lies for consensus, where possibility lies for agreement. So he is a kind of a person who is a synthesizer. He wants to combine good points of different traditions. As he has liberally drawn from Hindu tradition, so is the case with him. He has also drawn from Christian traditions and combined them to create something that is useful for human society, that is useful for removing the prospect of violence. So Gandhi was synchronizing. I just want to. He thought that the concept of ahimsa, concept of non-violence, it's very passive. banal kind of thing. So he has borrowed from Christianity the notion of suffering love and attached this suffering love with his concept of non-violence. But he realized that love undermines autonomy of the agent, autonomy of the individual. Love makes person emotional. So and again he drew from Indian tradition, anashakti, detachment. So non-violence, suffering love, detachment, all these concepts, finer human concepts, were drawn from different religious, moral traditions, and they were combined in a way that could serve human interest. So this is synchronization. In that context, in synchronizing, drawing from other traditions to create a better moral situation for human society, it is important to note that provenance of secularism, how secularism has emerged. Secularism has emerged after a protracted war between the state and the church. Only after that secularism came. And what is the consequence? The emergence of secularism is something that insulated religion from public life. Not only religion, but secularism worked as in a way that eliminated the possibility of moral judgment. The idea of morality was absolutely neglected, not given any importance. This is how modern notion of secularism emerged. It created a split between political and moral. Political and moral, there we find a split because, as I mentioned right now, that secularism is the result of a long war between the state and the church, and the way secularism originated, naturally the moral worldview was eliminated, not given importance. Moral judgment was not that was not important. So this is how a split was created between politics and morality, and supremacy of reason and rationality over emotions, intuitions, and popular ethos of life. Secularism was thought of the result of reason and rationality, and emotions, your intuitions, and popular way of living, they were rather ridiculed, and they were treated as creating problem for a state, creating problem for power of the state. The moral view, the primacy of morality, it was discounted by the emergence of secularism, and in many modern societies, secularism is treated as something that is opposite to religion, opposite to moral pluralism. Gandhi, he believed in morality, he believed in synchronizing different moral traditions, but the idea of secularism was not conducive to his moral philosophy or moral worldview. I am going to discuss Gandhi's morality in the context of non-violence. Non-violence constitutes the worldview of Gandhi. Gandhi, he says that if there moral and material direction of life, moral and material direction of life moving in different direction, in opposite direction, then it creates serious problem. If they are, as I referred, the notion of Purushartha, if there is no synchronization, if moral and material they are moving in opposite direction, then the possibility of immorality becomes brighter. The space for morality shrinks. So that is why Gandhi, he says that you have to follow the path of non-violence. Non-violence, he develops a very nuanced understanding of non-violence. What he says that, I referred that he strongly followed the path of non-violence during freedom struggle. He called off non-cooperation movement after violence occurred in Chauri Chaura. So he was totally intolerant to the idea of violence. So it is important to understand why he was so emphatic in his approach to non-violence. He says that the killing impulse varies from person to person. And it depends on your strength. The capacity to kill depends on your strength, your power. But to be killed presupposes equality. Just for to be killed for the sake of a cause, get killed for the sake of a cause, does not require any inequality, any variation in power. To kill somebody, you need power, you need a strength. But to be killed, you do not need any power and any strength. You need moral power, that you want to die for a cause. In dying, there is equality, absolute equality. In killing, there is no equality. But in dying, to be killed based on equality, there is no inequality at all. In that way, dying for a cause is a kind of asserting your sovereignty of the self. Gandhi says that by dying, it is always better to be killed than to kill. And dying, to be killed, why it is so important? Because by dying, you are asserting your sovereignty. You are asserting autonomy of the self. So and by asserting the sovereignty of the self, by asserting your autonomy, by embracing death for a cause, it gradually makes the state, brutal regime, to realize the futility of violence. And this realization makes the idea of violence redundant. Makes the idea of violence redundant. So this is in the path of non-violence, moving on the path of non-violence, it is always better to be killed. This is the highest assertion of sovereignty of the self. And this is a very emphatic, very powerful articulation of the idea of morality. Morality will ultimately makes violence redundant, makes violence futile. This is very important point. I have written, desire to be killed for a cause based on equality and the assertion of the sovereignty of the self. Now, the other slide, and this is also very important, as the autonomy of the self, sovereignty of the self is so important for morality, for serving the moral cause. Similarly, Gandhi was very much fond of sacred texts. The sacred morality contained in scriptures and sacred texts as treasured inheritances of humanity. You know, the religious book containing morality, containing the ideas of morality, containing the ideas of humanity, they are in fact our inheritance, and we should preserve that inheritance. We should follow that inheritance. We should follow the moral principles enshrined in our religious texts. And if you see the popular realm of life, they are not only followed, but the ideas contained in those texts, they are repeated time and again by generations after generations. But here, what makes Gandhi uncomfortable? The notion of history, the idea of history. You know, by history he means evidence. Without evidence, without record of evidence, nothing can be believed, nothing can be followed. You know, that makes Gandhi uncomfortable. Modern insistence on historical record as a form of evidence and substantiation, something that creates ambiguity and internal turmoil in the life of the people. Their popular belief, their intuitions, emotions that they draw from sacred books, that are mocked, they are mocked, ridiculed, and termed as archaic, primitive, conservative by history and historical interpretation. Gandhi says that that kind of interpretation of history leads to historical triumphalism, you know, triumphant history. But Gandhi says that history, if you are giving so much importance to history, you should try to understand the deeper meaning. He says that history is nothing but an intelligently constructed narrative of the victor. You know, inherent tendency of history more towards conflict and war, less towards peace and tranquility. So the condescending claims of history is criticized, condescending claims of history are criticized by Gandhi. He says that history records conflict, war, bloodshed, violence, and in that context he cites the example of two brothers. He cites the example of two brothers. Still I have time now? So he cites the conflict of two brothers. He says that two brothers are quarreling, but ultimately they decide to live together. Good sense prevails and they decide to live together in cordiality. But when they decide, they continue their fight and they decide to approach law court with the help of a solicitor. Then everybody is talking about the bitterness existing between two brothers. When there is a bitterness, when fight continues and it goes to law court, then it becomes the talk of the town. It becomes the talk of the neighbor, talk of your fellow human beings. But when they are living together in peaceful, they decide to resolve their conflict peacefully. Nobody pays attention to. So history gives importance to quarrel. History gives importance to conflict. History gives importance to war, bloodshed. In other way, the historical interpretations creates a situation where moral position has a shaky ground. So history is also the way the historical interpretation and history as an evidence. They are creating problem for moral. They are creating problem for the moral worldview. I just want to cite one critique of Gandhi's morality, and to me, it is a misreading of Gandhi's notion of morality. it is a misreading of Gandhi's notion of morality. Some contemporary scholarship, modern scholarship, what they say? They say that morality creates hierarchy between what is moral and immoral. Gandhi's notion of morality creates hierarchy between what is moral and what is immoral. And here the contemporary scholarship has taken the help of Foucault's disciplinary power. And what is this disciplinary power? Morality is considered as a disciplinary power to force body to conform to the existing world view. Morality is something that is used against those who are supposed to be immoral, who are supposed to be tainted others. They are normalized and they are forced to follow the existing worldview, follow the existing norms. This is how Gandhi's idea of morality was criticized. Gandhi's idea of morality creates binary between moral and immoral. But if you look at Gandhi in a deeper way, then we find that no, this is not the case. The problem doesn't lie with Gandhi's articulation of morality, but with modernity. Modern conceptualization inherently proceeds on the basis of binary, creating binary. Without creating superiority of one over the other, modern conceptualization, modern interpretation cannot move forward. So it is the modern way of looking at Gandhi's moral worldview, Gandhi's moral inverse, that makes one to say that morality creates hierarchy between moral and immoral. Contrary to this critique, Gandhi's non-violence, if you look at non-violence, then non-violence is not only for the liberation of the victim, but it is also for the liberation of the perpetrators of violence. There is no dichotomy. Even the person who is resorting to violence, over whom Gandhi wants that both should be liberated. Both are not liberated, victims as well as perpetrators of violence. Human beings are embodiment of virtue and vices. Each and every human being is capable of morality, moral worldview, guided by morality. So there is absolutely no question of creating binary or creating hierarchy between morality and immorality. But just to conclude this Gandhi's moral inverse, I just want to make few points hurriedly. Gandhi emphasizes the need of applying moral principles in social political practices. Gandhi, normally many supporters of Gandhi, and they say that Gandhi was more like a saint, more like an ascetic. But Gandhi was not an ascetic or saint. He was this worldly man, ever eager to elevate the realm of the political. And how to elevate the realm of political? By combining political and moral. The political and the moral, both are combined together. Then the possibility of violence, possibility of hatred can be taken care of. So his idea is not abstract and quixotic, but rooted in Swaraj, self-sufficiency and moral plurality. So this is, and many movements, contemporary movements, greed movements, feminism, and Martin Luther King, black social activists, he followed Gandhi's notion of suffering love. So there is a need to understand Gandhi's moral worldview, moral universe. Only then we should get rid of violence, hatred, bloodshed, and create a better world for human society. Thank you very much.